Hey guys, in today's video, I want to talk about pepper trees and how you can identify them and what you should do if you have one. Do you keep it or do you... All right, so in this video, we're specifically covering Schinus terebinthifolius, which is the Brazilian pepper tree. Now, there's also Schinus molle, which is the Peruvian pepper tree, and some of them have similar characteristics. Both of them have been fairly invasive, especially here in different parts of the United States, especially Florida and California, for different reasons. They really love our environments there, which is great if you're trying to get a lot of tree cover, but maybe not as great if you are potentially allergic to this plant. Or one of the biggest reasons I'm not a big fan of these trees is it makes it really hard to grow other plants underneath them. All right, so first let's identify what a pepper tree looks like. There's a few key features that you'll want to look out for. These peppercorns are a dead giveaway. I have a lot more information about these later on in the video, but the other thing you need to identify are the leaves. So the leaves on Schinus terebinthifolius have these lanceolate kind of oval looking leaves, and they're bipinnately, basically meaning that they're on either side of this little stem here. So that's a good way to identify if you have a pepper tree like this. And you can maybe also look at the bark, and that's also a good giveaway. The bark is usually like a grayish color, and then it has some cracking in it. It's a little bit on the smooth side. It's not super rough. However, as these trees get old, it can get pretty rough, especially the Schinus molle. From the Schinus molle has this really kind of bulbous, like looking weird bark that looks super cool in an old tree. I do love them architecturally. They can be super beautiful in the landscape, but these trees, like I said, can be problematic for other reasons. So after you've identified whether you have a pepper tree or not, and if you still can't figure it out, there's lots of apps you can use, or just bring a branch into your local nursery. They should be able to identify it for you or not. Now let's get into the peppercorn a little bit. So these beautiful little fruit are really decorative for the holidays. So if you're in Florida or California, where you don't get so many of the seasons, a lot of people use these for decoration and they're pretty cute. However, you want to be careful because this is the fruit. Technically, it's a drupe, which describes the type of fruit that it is, and this will spread in other areas if these seeds get around. So maybe not the best use for decoration if you're spreading these around in an area that is potentially invasive, so be careful about that. Also, they look like the peppercorn you eat. And technically, some people do eat these peppercorns, but they're not the peppercorns from the tree or plant that most people get. I can't remember the name right now, but I'm going to put it right there. It's something nigra. Pinea nigra, maybe, is the peppercorn plant. And that's what the type that you actually eat. So this Brazilian pepper is part of the Anacardiaceae family, which is the same family as poison oak, cashew, carrot wood, and some other famous plants that you might recognize. So this does cause irritation for a lot of people. If you do consume these, you might get diarrhea, or you might just have upset stomach. I don't recommend it, although occasionally some people can tolerate it and do use them, but I don't recommend it. Don't do it. Okay, so one of the biggest reasons I don't love having pepper trees in and around my gardens or my clients' gardens is because they actually drop a chemical in the soil. So they're called allelopathic, and there is debating science around it, but I have seen this firsthand where these drop leaves and in the soil they build up over time, making it extremely difficult for your plants to grow, or they stunt growth of other plants underneath them. So it's not my favorite plant to have around. I'm standing in my client's yard right now, and this tree is in her neighbor's yard. However, they gave me permission to take it out. And the reason I want to take it out is she really wants some beautiful ornamental plants here. And I know these branches are going to keep growing over here, drop leaves, and over time, it's really going to affect the growth of the plants on this side of the yard. So I know I'm a big advocate for not wanting pepper trees because they're super invasive. They can spread all over the place and they make it hard for plants to grow. However, if you already have an established pepper tree in your yard, my parents have 2 of them, and I have a real hard time wanting to take them out because they are so mature and so beautiful in that space that they really make the yard. So instead of removing the trees, we ended up working around them. So I put in a patio table and a carpet. I put in a fire pit area, places that we're not trying to grow, a bocce ball court. So that's what I stuck underneath the tree and just did a lot of mulch in other areas. I just decided I'm just not even going to try and plant. Now, I will say in the other areas that are a little further out, we do have garden space and those plants have always struggled. So you can doctor them along. I've actually built up mounds in that area, in the garden in particular. I built up about 2 feet of soil when I replanted it, and they did really well for about 5 years. And then after time, fallen leaves, change the soil, and that makes it more difficult for those plants to grow. So it's kind of a balance. Like this tree in this yard, honestly, it's just a big shrub. It's kind of weedy. It could really be anything else. It doesn't add a lot to this space. But if you have some really significant, really architectural ones, that might be an argument to keep some of them and just work around or do other stuff around it so that you have those trees. Because mature trees are really hard to come by and they actually increase your property value. So it really is debatable on what you want to do. If you have pets that tend to eat a lot of plants, this technically would not be one you would want them to eat, although maybe they try it once, get sick and not again. I don't know. You have to decide that for yourself. We have a dog, but he's not a plant eater, and these trees are very common. They're in many people's yards. I don't think they're a big cause for super concern, but I know some people are really on it when they have dogs that eat everything. The last thing I want to show you about this tree in particular is you can see that it was a larger, more significant tree. At some point, we have 3 big trunks here that have been cut, and then these suckers came out, and they're already probably 20 feet in the air, more or less. So today I'm going to cut this one out because I've had permission to do it, and I'll let you know how that goes in another video. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or concerns or anything in the comments below. And again, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that. Thank you. Bye.